Oh, sorry. I'm going to adjust. I've got to adjust the bananas introduced fruit, and the apples introduced fruit, and the lemons introduced fruit that my laptop introduced technology is sitting on while I speak into the camera, introduce technology, and begin to explain how Victoria, or the state formerly known as Victoria, is now a terrorist occupation. Who would have thought? You know, who would have thought? Isn't that funny? Like, that shot just happens to say VE. Let's do a test. Let's do an immediate census. I'll just walk down the road, shall I, and ask what VE means to the so-called Australians in our midst. What does VE mean? And then we'll just begin to write down, and we'll document, and we'll get a demographic of what the Australian, so-called Australian citizens think that VE means down under. If you don't know, or if you give an unsatisfactory answer, well, you'll be considered as a terrorist, and you'll be fucking marched off the cliffs at Port Arthur. Because that's how we fucking roll, isn't it? We're hideous, fucking murderous, fucking killing machines. That's right. All we do is we spread disease and terrorism and genocide, and we are fucking absolutely in the business of wiping out traditional people. That's what we do. Yeah. Unlike the Irish, who don't do that at all. No, it's the British all the way. We're the masterminds of this whole fucking malarkey. And somehow we've been able to just keep the entire fucking world bending over at the knees, or down on their knees, in the mud, in their own shit, while we fucking enslave humanity for hundreds of years. That's right. And we just buggered it up. We couldn't fucking beat Albanese and his Labor Party fucking cohort of fucking on the spectrum fucking politicians. They were too good for us. You know what I mean? They basically took our guidebook, apparently, according to their fucking propaganda. They're utilizing the exact method, and then their whole strategy is to say that we're bad, the previous iteration was bad, the new iteration is not, despite it being exactly the same. And actually, despite it being 1,000 times worse, because they're using technology. There was no such thing as blocking someone 100 years ago, not 20 years ago. You couldn't block someone. You couldn't hide someone, like shadow ban them. You couldn't stick them in a little algorithm prison. They would fucking march through the fucking countryside and gather a fucking horde that would end up on your castle fucking doorstep, cross your drawbridge, and fucking send your fucking heads flying over the fucking walls in the catapults. It's all fairy tales. And I'll thank the Dutch princess for the hat. Thank you very much. I feel your continued support, because I know you're in this whole mess as well. None of you people would be here if it wasn't for the British Empire. None of you. You'd be fucking dead or in prison or hungry or whatever the fuck it is. This is insane. And if the concept is like, Aboriginal people aren't free to do what they do. Yes, they are. Everyone, in fact, everyone's free to live as Aboriginals did. They just don't. That's a problem. And to throw it all back at you, it's like, I've decided to live as I lived on this land without an iPhone, without a handheld fucking, communication device with a disproportionate scale comparative screen that, in my opinion, disassociates people from reality. And I intend on proving that. Now, that's far different and far more harmful than anything that the so-called British did here. You haven't just haven't just occupied people's land. You've occupied their very minds. You've gaslit them into thinking that they fucking live on a little fucking rectangle in their pocket. And they don't. So, in light of all this nonsense, in light of Victoria's clear fucking example that they are going to continue on this, my instructions to all descendants therein of the British Empire, everyone basically who doesn't want to go fucking deep throat a fucking exhaust pipe in Victoria with the fucking lunatic fucking Nazi fucking Kiwi fucking Gestapo, is to immediately, every Australian citizen, former British Empire citizen or subject of the British Empire, is to go and find a 6 metre long piece of sapling wood, which you can find anywhere. You know what I mean? Go to a place where there's suckers of young trees and find an appropriately sized, approximately 6 metre piece of wood, and fashion a very sharp double-sided knife. So you've got to get a normal kitchen knife. You've got to sharpen the other side of that knife, and you've got to firmly affix that blade to the end of said pike. Then you will have a Macedonian spear, and we're going to march on Victoria. The minute that we are shot at by rifle or smoke gun or rubber bullet or anything like that, we will immediately elevate to armed, military rifles as well, under the International Order of War. And we will march through the city, and any police that get impaled by their own stupidity on the end of one of our pikes will be hoisted up into the fucking air and left there for a period of 2 weeks so that we can flatten the curve of communism in Victoria. And I think once we send this fucking image, perhaps on phones, perhaps on camcorders, perhaps on fucking, maybe we could have a few portraitists who can sketch the fucking scene of the communist hordes dangling 6 meters up in the air at the end of a fucking pike. Once this is achieved, we will then liberate the Victorian people from their communist overlords, and we can get back to the business of British Empire stuff, which is, like moving sheep around and making nice jackets, making sure the post office works, making sure that there is a library where you can, perhaps get one of these. It's called a book. This is what we used to do before iPhones. And so you'll find that they're still quite handy, and you can indeed go and find many different types of books at a library, something that was studiously, offered up and donated to people of all regions of the world in the pre-existing paradigm of the non-phone, non-communist situation. I always think it's like, at last resort, just threaten that you're going to stick him on a spike and go full Dracula. And I find that normally does the trick. And because either way, we get something that's interesting. We either get surrender and an apology, or we get, 20,000 Nazis, like a pincushion, like a Nazi pincushion, just in the state formerly known as Victoria. And then we can restore it to being called Victoria, which of course is named after Queen Victoria, whose descendants occupy the thrones of all major empires across Europe and down here. So I'm going to do my little trick where I pick 5 random words now. This is going to be a short, snappy one. I might just hang that somewhere. I don't know. I'll just hang, because everyone, you've got to have, you'll notice, right? Whenever you're dealing with shit in the world, one thing you have to have is some type of star hanging from you. It's just, I don't know why. Maybe they could explain that in Victoria. What does the star mean? Victoria Police. What does the star mean? This particular star has 8 points, and it has a lot of other stars on there that have 6 points and some that have 5 points. It's got some weird things on there, and it's quite beautiful. But yeah, anyway, let's pick 5 words this morning The first word is obsession. I would say the Victorian politicians are obsessed with nonsense. They have locked into an idea. They have locked their people down. They have terrorized their people. They have traumatized them. They have fucking threatened them. They have done everything that it would take under the normal circumstances of the 10,000 years prior to colonize and occupy a region of Earth. Unfortunately, they're doing it in this time where I can then do this and we don't actually have to do any of the things. We just can talk in metaphor. We can paint a picture in metaphor of 20,000 Victorian public servants and police and politicians up on spikes. You can get AI to draw that as well. So you'll see a very visual representation of what I'm talking about with my words. You could even snip that out. You could transcribe this little bit of text, put it into AI, and then it's not like I made it. It's like AI made it with words that I use. And the words I'm using are all contained within the dictionary. So I got obsession, rhythm. Rhythm is movement or procedure with uniform recurrence of a beat, accent, or the like. Measured movement as in dancing, music, the pattern of regular or... And I will just remind everyone that during the pandemic, there was an attempt to ban music and dancing, which is pretty common in communist coups in the past, in socialist uprisings, in totalitarian attempts to enslave its people. Yeah. Alrighty. So we've got obsession, we got rhythm. Matador, the bullfighter who has the principal role and who kills the bull in a bullfight. Now, in Spain, they have these things called bullfights, and it's debated across the world whether this is polite. But I would say a bullfight in Spain is probably 10,000 times more humane than imprisoning an entire state while you shift the pieces around and get ready for your communist uprising. So that is far less humane than stabbing big spears into a bull. And so to send a clear message of how unacceptable the British subjects find this behaviour, we are sending a clear message that unless this hideous occupation is disintegrated and disassembled, we will have a bullfight with the tyrants that are attempting to enslave Victoria. Alrighty, so Matador, what do we have? Obsession, rhythm, Matador. Secure. So once we secure the city, to make secure or certain. Once we do that, we can reformat the federal constitution to kind of, make sure that there isn't this type of thing in the future. And of course, integrate however they wish to the traditional individuals present here and exactly. So we can't call it the traditional owners. That's a mistake in the English language. They're the descendants of the traditional inhabitants, because they didn't own the place by their own admission. Nationality. The quality of membership in a particular nation, original or acquired, relationship of property to a particular nation, or to one or more of its members. Nationalism. Existence as a distinct nation, national independence, nation of people, national quality or character. Pretty good word, really, to end on, because it's basically what this whole thing is about. We, as British subjects, for the entire occupation here, we have not sought to eradicate the Aboriginal people. In fact, a lot of this eradication mindset on anything is a complete mistake. It's what leads to atrocities everywhere, not just in humans. Of course, the top of the most horrific acts in this are occurring onto human beings, we will admit that, yes, all people that migrated to Australia caused a lot of trouble for the Aboriginal people, but that was not, in any sense of the word, a British Empire project. It was an act by human beings of all nationalities. Every nationality that is on a phone right now doing this, you have dispossessed Aboriginal people. And more than likely, you are doing nothing to enrich their lives or to protect their original culture, despite saying how important it is. There is a bit of a misnomer to say that you're protecting Aboriginal culture on the internet. You can't really do that. And so it is just a very complicated thing to do. So then the only thing we can have is like reserves, and this is what we're doing. And then you get in the thing where you're saying we're trying to dehumanize them. No, we're not. We're trying to appropriately categorize them as pre-civilizational humans, which has amazing benefits to the entire human race if we can understand it. But it's a very delicate process because, unfortunately, exposure to civilization, to non-civilizational humans, almost certainly causes the complete destruction of their environment. And this is a 10,000-year-old story. It's not a 300-year-old story. It's a 10,000-year-old story. And unfortunately, the act of colonization by the Victorian, or the attempt at colonization by the Victorian political system and the police, is far worse than anything. You are trying to completely capture the intricacies of people's complete existence by using these digital methods, by using this terror. It's like the Aboriginal people could run off into the bush. They could exist on the land. It's like, but anyone coming from this so-called, colonizer cohort, we're now just supposed to sit here as the future targets for your eradication attempts. Unfortunately, due to consistent example set by your environmental procedures, eradication is still very much in your vocabulary. It is undertaken by government agents in all different arenas, whether it's plant life, animal life, biological life, and still human life. It is the eradication attempt that is always the negative attempt. And an empire, by its very nature, is the exact opposite to that. It is the exact opposite of an eradication. It is an attempt at culmination, at harmony. It is an attempt at ecological stability. And it doesn't take much to go back to our not too distant past and see that we were at a far higher level of that. And there has been nothing but attempts to at least attempt a multicultural, multiracial, gender and sexuality approach at all projects undertaken by the British Empire. So you are squatting. You are stealing and working from stolen property that you have stolen from the British Empire, and you are attempting to completely overthrow that empire's influence on this land by using techniques that have been evolved with new technologies, making them absolutely on par with the atrocities seen in World War II, in the Holocaust, in Nazi Germany. There is no difference. There is no difference at all. And so we will not be meeting you on the streets and having you beat us with while you wear helmets and guards. You will be stuck on the end of our 6-meter long spears. You'll be shot at from fucking buildings. If you arrive to oppose us, your houses will be burnt while you're gone. If you attempt to disrupt our empire's influence on this land, your infrastructure, that you hold so dear, the life support system of your cities will be cut off, which means food supply, electricity, medical supplies, everything. This is where you live. We did not install you into a concentration camp. We had an idea of a nation called Australia. If you have been mistreated by the Victorian government in the last 5 years, it is time to end it once and for good and to liberate yourselves. You have the backing of the entire country, of the entire British Empire, of the entire Commonwealth, and in fact, I think the entire world, because no free individual, freedom-loving individual wants to see this type of coup be successful in an English-speaking language or in an English-speaking region. And no matter what happens, it will be projected around the world. You will see this come to its final conclusion. So there's an option, or there's a list of options in front of every public servant, every member of this communist glut existing in the southern region of the east coast of Australia, to make an appropriate decision going forward to their actions on this land. And if you look back at your family history and it is shorter than 100 years, I assure you, you will lose if you attempt to subjugate the Indigenous people of this country.